Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel, fellow game masters. Whether you're a seasoned player stepping up to be in that GM seat, or a brand new GM diving into the world of TTRPGs for the first time, I've got some essential advice for you here. From creating memorable NPCs to crafting engaging storylines and managing your players, we're going to cover it. So grab your dice, take a deep breath, and we're just going to take a deep dive into the world of the TTRPG together. So let's get started. First thing to know, especially if you're a new game master stepping up, make sure you know the rules. Familiarize yourself with the rules of the game system you'll be running. Include the combat mechanics. If there's skill checks, character creation is a must because essentially people are going to have questions about those things, and you want to be able to give them those answers right, immediately, like you've been doing this for years. It's important to understand the rules in order also to make the game fair for everyone, uh, and so everyone can enjoy it. Number two, prepare for your adventure. Create a storyline, plan out some key events. You don't have to have everything, railroaded out because overall, you can't be too rigid with it because things are going to happen. And those things are usually players, believe it or not, because sometimes a player may catch a hook that you didn't realize you threw out there and go on a completely different direction. So you want to make sure that, you're not like setting yourself in, but that you've got that next thing that we're going to talk about, which is flexibility. You've got to be able to prepare and adapt to unexplained situations and changes. In the in any adventure that you run, there's going to be those changes. It's important to be able to think on your feet and make those adjustments needed, and that kind of goes hand in hand with prepping. Because if you have two or three or four things prepped, you can go from there. Myself, what I usually do is I have a point A and a point B. I know what they're going to be, and I kind of figure it out getting them there. Not everyone's like that. Some people need to actually plan and plot out, you know, X, Y, Z, and you know what? That's great. It either way works, but you have to be able to be flexible in order to be able to move with those unexpected things. The biggest thing here also is communicate with your players. Make sure your players understand the rules, the adventure, the setting, the backgrounds, and even their own characters. Encourage them to ask questions and provide that feedback, because the more feedback that you do provide to them, the more you're going to draw them in, the more they're going to be invested within, I'm going to say the word, the story. Yeah, that's right, the story. Because regardless, story is going to drive everything. Now, you want to make sure that you're being fair. Treat all the players as equals. Don't single one out and just decide to throw, 50, undead things at it when he's all alone, typically. Now, if that is going to be a hook within the story, okay. But you want to try to pass it around. Make sure everyone, you're not showing favoritism. You're not actually punishing people, because some players are going to do things and you're going to be like, I really want to kill him. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't kill the characters because the player upset you. Because that's where the next thing comes up, which is set expectations. Let the players know what kind of game you're going to be running, include any house rules, restrictions. That way, everyone's on the same page. Typically, this is what we call our session zero. This is where everyone sits down, makes their characters. You will go over the setting, the what you expect of them, and sometimes the players are going to tell you what they expect also. So it's kind of one of those give and take type situations there that that's where like I said before, the communicate with your players, that's where the communication really does come in, you know especially if you're going to have some house rules, because they may not be able to look them up in books or know of them or anything else, so you want to make sure that they have a clear understanding. The next thing here is also encourage role playing. Encourage your players to develop and act out their characters. you know Include giving them opportunities to make decisions and interact with the NPCs. You want to give them the opportunity to, yes, shine, and they can do that through their role play. And the big thing is that what a lot of DMs tend to do, and myself, I did this when I first started out too. You're more focused on, okay, this is what I'm going to throw at them to fight. This is what I'm going to throw at them for like curveballs on traps. That's fine, but sometimes those players can get just as much out as an interaction with your NPC doing some pretty mundane things. And it helps them round out that character, so it winds up being more immersive for them. And truthfully, you want them to be immersed in it, because this is their getaway. This is their way of escaping. The escapism of the hobby, the TTRPG, is amazing, because like me, if I'm as a player, sometimes I don't want to have to deal with some of the stuff I'm dealing with, and other times I want to, maybe I've had a bad week at work, maybe and just sometimes I feel like ginsuing a few things and calling it a day. You've got to be able to read the room, and once again, goes back to communicate with your players. Be creative. You don't necessarily have to run everything out of a module or everything off the top of your head. Do some research, ask some questions, talk to some other people who've GM before, get little tidbits of advice, pick up little. Here's the thing, is that everyone you interact with, you pick up little things from, whether it's a GM, a player, whatever. You want to be able to have them, you know kind of come into a cohesiveness, and with that is that creative juices that can just get flowing from, just even if you're just writing out a couple lines about they're passing, as they pass, there's a black orc arrow stuck in a tree, for instance. I had that in one of my games, and the players spent 10 minutes trying to figure out if it was a sign. So sometimes just being creative with the descriptions as things are walking by can give them opportunities for them to try to figure things out. The next one is very important, because when they, that little mundane thing that you may have talked about, you've got to keep the game moving. Avoid getting bogged down in rules, debates, and excessive planning. Give them a timer. Some DMs use a timer on their phone, or a timer on a hourglass type timer. uh, you don't want them to get bogged down. You want to keep the game flowing, and you also want to make sure that everyone is engaged. Make sure that everyone is participating. Make sure you're not leaving anybody behind. Now, the last but not least, this is the biggest one. Have fun, regardless if you're DMing a player, whatever. Have fun, because you don't want to take the game seriously. And you want to enjoy the adventure along with your players. And as a DM, if you're not having fun, that's going to reflect. So these are kind of my little tidbits, my little advice for new GMs. You know, you know, take them. I would say even watch other videos, get other ideas on things. Don't go to one source to try to pull everything that you want to do with your game. So, everyone, I want to thank you very much for joining me, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.